Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So towards the end of my top 10 prospects list, I told you guys that after that, I was going to start cooking up an overall young cores list because I feel like that's more indicative of how a team's looking because there's still some prospects from the 2020 draft, like Alex Nikishin is 24 years old in October. Meanwhile, Mac and Celebrini turned 19 a month ago, and Celebrini's not a prospect, but Nikishin is. So I thought it'd be a fun idea to do this U-24 list. I asked you guys on Instagram, do you want U-23, U-24, or U-25? And when you look at it, the fact that the U-23 people would have probably also voted for the U-24. U-24 won out overall when you combine those two results. So that's what we're doing. And also my guy Puck Empire on Instagram, go follow him, is doing a U-25 list. I saw BR Open Ice did like a post regarding U-23. So I kind of wanted to stand on my own and do U-24. And I think that that is the best age to do with something like this. So there's no 2019 drafted guys besides Thomas Harley, who has an August birthday, because I do think by the time you hit 24, although there definitely is room for growth, and occasionally there is a Tage Thompson that comes out of nowhere at 24 years old and cements himself as a high-end NHLer, usually by then guys are entering their prime. You don't really hit your prime until like 25, 26, but we kind of know what you are by the age of 24, so this is going to be under the age of 24. So basically, again, outside of Thomas Harley, 2020 draft and more recent. So yeah, let's get into it. Much like with the prospect pools, I'm actually going to have 12 names listed, and we're going to go through it. Their main 12 core guys. Obviously, there's some prospects that got cut off, but yeah, mainly like the 1 through 7 or 8 is what really matters with these cores. So let's start it off. Much like with the prospect pools, we're actually going to start with 1 and work our way down because I do think there's more intrigue. By the time we get to the end of the list, you can probably assume who's towards the top. And at number 1, I'm going to go with the San Jose Sharks. They're not as proven as some other U-24 cores at the NHL level, but that top 3 at this point is Mac and Celebrini is either the best or second best U-24 player overall. And again, with this is projecting their overall careers once they're in their prime, not just right now. So yeah, Celebrini alongside Bedard is the clear 1-2 when it comes to most valuable U-24 players in the NHL. Michael Misa is the top 3 prospect in hockey right now, considering what he did in the OHL last year, as well as his resume before that. Will Smith had 45 points in his rookie year, and towards the end of the season, he finished with 30 points in his final 34 games to close out his rookie season. He's well on his way to turning into an elite first liner as a 2023 drafted guy. William Eklund, I have always been very, very high on, and now I'm also very high on his brother who's on my Islanders. But William Eklund had 45 points in a rookie year when he didn't have Celebrini, when he didn't have Smith, and the team was god-awful in 2023, 2024. This year jumped up to 57 points. He's also looking like he can be an elite first liner. Sam Dickinson, while not proven at the NHL level, 91 points in 55 games this year in the OHL. Askarov, top 3 goalie prospect in hockey, most likely. Chernyshov was 55 points in 23 games alongside Michael Bisa, future second liner, probably 6'3" Russian. Quinton Musty has been highly productive in the OHL, sniffing 2 points per game. Cagnani was awesome in the WHL this year, just below a point per game in the AHL, a little bit undersized, but great offensive defenseman. Ravensbergen, consensus top 10 goalie prospect in the NHL, and Salim Wallenius and Colin Graf could potentially turn into something. Again, they have that true blue chip guy that I think is going to be a top 10 player in the NHL in Mac and Celebrini. 3 other pretty damn elite guys, and then some unproven guys that have a lot of potential. So yeah, I got San Jose at number 1. At number 2, the only team that I considered moving to number 1 for the San Jose Sharks is the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal Canadiens fans, before you come at me, of course, you also have Cole Caulfield, who is 24 years old. Nick Suzuki's 25. Yeah, I think he has an August birthday. He's still 25. So yeah, you got all guys in the range, but when you're looking at U-24, their top 2 is absolutely insane. And Ivan Demidov, the number 1 prospect in hockey right now, in my opinion. Lane Hudson, amazing rookie year. Slavkovsky needs to be more consistent, back-to-back 50-point seasons, but it's like he sleeps through the first half of the season, then turns into a demon, but as a 2022 draftee, has set that floor of around the 50-point guy. Jacob Fowler, top 3 goalie prospect in hockey. Caden Cooley has proven to be a defenseman already as a 2020 draftee that can handle 21, 22 minutes a night of tough defensive workload. Zachary Bolduc, 2021 draftee, 19 goals, 17 assists, 36 points in 72 games this year, half a point per game, a quarter goal per game. David Reinbacher, Michael Hage, both top 40-ish prospects. Joshua Waugh maybe can be a solid bottom 6 forward going forward. Dobish could be a backup long term, whether that's behind Montembeau, probably Montembeau next season, then eventually behind Fowler or something like that. Owen Beck, bottom sixer, could be solid. Zorofsky has solid upside. Montreal checks in at number 2. I'm sure they're going to want that number 1 spot, but I think I just slightly lean San Jose. Montreal's maybe more so proven at the NHL level, but I think San Jose has a slightly higher upside. And I just love Macklin celebrating in terms of a number 1 guy. Next up, Anaheim. This is when it starts getting interesting. I really like this Anaheim young core. When looking at Leo Carlsson, under Cronin was still pretty productive. And I think once Quenneville gets there, he's going to be able to really develop Leo Carlsson into a true number 1 franchise center. Cutter Gauthier, despite being in the doghouse of Cronin for like half the season, still put up 20 goals, 24 assists, 44 points, only playing like 13, 14 minutes a night. And towards the end of the season, when he was finally playing with Carlsson, had 11 goals, 11 assists, 22 points in 27 games. I think he's going to go for like 30 and 30 next season, if I'm being honest. Pavel Mitnyakov, awesome rookie year. Did kind of not lose out, but like Jackson Lacombe kind of just outplayed him this year. And as a result, elevated in the lineup while Mitnyakov kind of stayed the same, but still has all the physical tools to be an elite top 4 defenseman. Mason McTavish, back-to-back seasons of around 55-ish points. Don't know what he's going to be long-term in Anaheim, if he's even going to be in Anaheim, but he should be sniffing 60 points relatively soon. Seneca, McQueen, both look like impact top sixers down the line. Olin Zellweger, very fun, exciting offensive defenseman that dominated the WHL, well over a point per game. Then in the AHL was like near a point per game. This year had like 20 points in 60 games. Just got to be given the opportunity, and I think he can be a very good top power play guy for them going forward and play 20, 21 minutes a night. Tristan Luneau, awesome in the AHL, basically replaced Zellweger's AHL production this year with 52 points in 59 games. Solberg was very solid in the SHL, first round pick in 2024. And then the other 3 are kind of, I don't really expect that much for them. But this top 9, and more importantly, like the top 8 for the most part, is damn good for the Anaheim Ducks. And as a result, I think they check in at number 3. Number 4, the Utah Mammoth. When looking at their big 3 of proven NHL players, Logan Cooley had a solid rookie year with around 40 points. This year goes for 25 goals, 40 assists, 65 points in 75 games. Just an absolute wizard with the puck. Dylan Gunther is like the next great goal scorer in the NHL in his first 2 years in the NHL, has put up 32 goal pace. JJ Peterka, 68 points last year. And he's going to be a perfect fit on Utah's kind of rush-heavy offense. I expect him to be a consistent 60, maybe 70-point guy going forward. Caleb Desnoyers, for me, is probably going to be a top 15 prospect in hockey. TJ Ginla, not too far behind him, even though he did miss a decent amount of this season with an injury. Lamaroon Simashev looked to be good top 4 defenseman down the line. Danil Boot, interesting, intriguing Russian forward that's 6'5" and has put up decent numbers in the KHL. Herbal, good in the NCAAs this year with a 924. And then the bottom 3, I think Bodwin could be a solid third line center. 11 and 12, I don't have too strong of feelings on. Number 5, the Chicago Blackhawks. Connor Bedard definitely does a lot of heavy lifting, considering outside of Connor Bedard, none of these guys are really that NHL proven. Frank Nazar was like half a point per game this year at the NHL level, but it was only like 51 games. I'm very high on Anton Frundell. He might be my number 4 prospect in the NHL when I do my updated top 50 prospects in the NHL. Leshinov's still a top 15 guy. Renzel is kind of underrated. I've talked about that so much on the Instagram, how good he was in those 9 games that he played at the end of the season in a solid college career. Korchinski, after having to play in the NHL last year, unfortunately, because the CHL NHL rule was in place, couldn't play in the AHL. Fortunately, had to play at the NHL level, but this year in the AHL, kind of got back on track and was decently productive. Camesso, I think I forgot him in my prospects, although it wouldn't have bumped Chicago up to the number 1 spot ahead of the San Jose Sharks. But Camesso had a 908 last year in the AHL. This year at 911, so pretty encouraging there. Top 20 goalie prospect in hockey for sure. Kanserov, very good in the KHL this year, just below a point per game. Nick Lourdes, was it 71 goals this season in the OHL? He was freaking nuts. Lucas Reichel hasn't quite worked out, but has NHL games under his belt, 2020 draftee. I'm very high on Neshasil, and Oliver Moore with his skating should be a solid middle sixer. Detroit, Lucas Raymond, one of the best wingers, young wingers in the NHL, when looking at the fact that he had a 72-point season, then an 80-point season this year. Edvinsson was very, very encouraging this year alongside Moritz Seider. Awesome underlying numbers and put up 31 points. And Marco Kasper, 19 goals, 18 assists, 37 points in his rookie year. Looks to be their answer for the second-line center position. Maybe eventually become the number one center once Dylan Larkin starts to regress. We went through these others, guys, when we did the prospect pools, but I'm high on ASP. I'm high on Carter Bear. Augustine and Costa is the best goalie prospect duo in the NHL. Buchnilikov, highly productive in Russia last year. Michael Brandsegg-Nygaard. Danielson should be good middle six forwards going forward. Plot was pretty encouraging at the college level. And Lombardi had 40 points in 44 AHL games this year as a 2021 or 2022 draftee. I forget. In Columbus at number 7, Adam Fantilli, highly regarded prospect. Solid rookie year, but eventually had to miss a decent amount of it because of an injury. I think he got cut on his leg. This year, 31 goals in his sophomore season. He was awesome. He's a future franchise center. Kent Johnson really broke out after Pascal Vincent wasn't even playing him at the NHL level for some goddamn reason. He went for 57 points in 66 games this year. Denton Mateychuk, I've always been very high on, highly productive in the CHL, then in the AHL was like 0.8 points per game, and this year settled into like a third pair role and was pretty effective as an offensive defenseman. Caden Lindstrom's got to stay healthy. I think if you told me that he's going to be healthy next season, he's probably a top 10 prospect in hockey. I just don't know when a big guy like that has a back injury. Jackson Smith has all the tools to be a solid, good top pair defenseman. Sillinger has been up and down, great rookie year, then kind of stunk the following 2 years, but got back on track this year at around a half a point per game. Andrianov, didn't love him at 20th overall, but still was viewed as one of the best goalie prospects in last year's draft and a top 15 goalie prospect in hockey, probably. Luca Morelli, a 6'2" defenseman that this year in the OHL put up 74 points in 67 games. Luca Del Bel Blues had 53 points in 61 AHL games as a 2022 draftee, so that's pretty encouraging. Jordan Dumais, had some off the ice stuff. Then he had a hip injury that kind of kept him out the last 2 seasons. I think he's only played 42 games the last 2 years, but before that was like above a 2 points per game in the QMJHL. He dominated the QMJHL, but is a little bit of a smaller guy. Ivanov was arguably a top 10 goalie prospect this time last year when he had a 928 in the KHL. That did drop down to a 911 this season, but still highly regarded. And Luca Pinelli had 72 points in 51 games in the OHL. Okay, the 8th spot. One of these players was just recently in the news signing a long-term extension, that being Jackson Blake. But the Carolina Hurricanes, this top 5 is pretty goddamn gross. When looking at Seth Jarvis, 63 points in 73 games this year while being awesome defensively. Basically, since he stepped into the league, one of the best two-way wingers, and it's going to be that for the next decade. Alex Nikishin, dominant in the KHL. When looking at him as a 2020 draftee, should hit the ground running and really have a decent opportunity this year to potentially win the Calder Trophy. Stan Colvin looks like he's going to be around a 60-point two-way pest. Bradley Nadeau in his draft year +2, 32 goals in 60 games this year in the AHL. He was awesome, potentially at the NHL level this season. I think he can be a 30-30 guy in the future. Jackson Blake, 34 points, got paid his 8-year deal at $5.1 million. That's the AAV. I'm decently high on Nikita Artemanov, what he has done in the KHL in his draft year, and now this season, he is progressing very, very well, and I expect Carolina to develop him well. Felix Unger-Sorum, solid prospect. Limitov, I was decently high on him. I had him like 35th on my board for 2025. They got him at like 64th. Ivan Ryabkin, probably going to work out because it's Carolina. Robitaille was decently productive this year in the AHL at just below below 8 point per game, not half a point per game. That would be that impressive. And then Badinka looks like a solid defensive defenseman. And Semyon Frolov is a top 30-ish goalie prospect. They selected him like 42nd overall. Pretty solid young core U-24. Next up, the Buffalo Sabres. This might be a little bit controversial because there is no like bona fide stud here, bona fide star compared to some of the teams that I maybe would have left off. I'm just very high on Zach Benson and Constantinius. You can check the track record. I still think Zach Benson is going to be a 65 to 70 point first line two-way demon. Owen Power, I think if he puts it together, can be just tough because he is, of course, he plays behind Rasmus Dahlin. He's never going to play 25, 26 minutes a night and be their franchise number one defenseman. And Konstantinos, I think, has all the makings of still being a low-end first-line center, high-end second-line center, especially with his two-way play. He was pretty solid this year for the Rochester Americans. Josh Doan, I think, is very underrated. Yuri Kulich this year was very good for them as a 2022 draftee. Devon Levi no longer has the expectations of being one of the best goalie prospects in the NHL, but still is a top 10 goalie prospect and should hopefully play a decent role next year. Radim Merkel all the way at number 8, and I'm not even saying he's at number 8 because I didn't think that it was a horrible pick at 9th overall. I was perfectly fine with that pick. But yeah, just saying like how deep they are in terms of this. Noah Ostlund, very skilled center prospect. They drafted back in 2022, I believe. Isaac Rosen has been very good in the AHL. Hopefully we'll get a shot at the NHL level. Brody Zimmer, pretty solid guy. Anton Wahlberg was decently productive at the AHL level this year. So yeah, maybe this is more so of a quantity over quality, but I do still think that there's a lot of quality within that top 3 for the Buffalo Sabres. And then to finish it off, I got the Minnesota Wild this time last year probably would have been a top 5, but some of these guys have had a bit of a down year, especially if you told me that they had David Jiricek. But yeah, Faber had a bit of a down year. Still think he can be their number 1 in the future, but yeah, definitely a little bit concerning. Maybe just a top pair guy going forward. Zeev Boyum was still very good at the college level. My opinion on him has not changed. Still a top 12 to 14 prospect in hockey. Marco Rossi took another step. I don't know what his future is long-term in Minnesota, though. Liam Ogren was very productive in the AHL. Danil Yurov did have a bit of a down year this year in the KHL compared to his prior production. Wallstead might have had the biggest drop of anybody when looking at it. Very good last year in the AHL with like a 910. This year went down to an 879, which is quite concerning. Height, maybe he could turn into something. Very good CHL numbers the last couple of years. Ryder Ritchie, then through Banak, doesn't really move me that much in terms of turning. Charlie Schrammel actually was much better at the college level this year with 27 points in 37 games. But yeah, I'm just a little bit lower. I definitely understand you having them potentially 8th, but I wouldn't put them. I think the top 7 is kind of set in stone. Order it however you want. And then other teams that I did consider was, of course, the Ottawa Senators, considering they might have they definitely have a top 5 duo in terms of U-24 guys, in Tim Stützle, in Jake Sanderson. They do have Yakimchuk, they do have Greg, but outside of that, there really isn't that much. I don't love Hensler by any means. Merrilainen is decent, but the depth is just very weak after their 6th or 7th best guy. And again, even after Stützle and Sanderson, it drops off a significant amount because I'm not the biggest Yakimchuk guy. Dallas, same thing, but to an even bigger extent. Wyatt Johnson, Thomas Harley. I'm decently high on Liam Michel, but what do you have after that? Emil Hemming doesn't move me that much. Cameron Schmidt, although I think was a steal at 94th overall, not the biggest fan of him. Not saying he's not gonna be on my top 50 prospects in the NHL. And then lastly, also the Los Angeles Kings. Brant Clark, Quinton Byfield. Byfield hasn't fully broken out, and again, as a 2020 draftee, not saying he's not, but it hasn't quite happened compared to like a Tim Stützle. Brant Clark also, maybe he pops off next season, and I'm still very high on him in terms of a U-24 ranking. But yeah, that duo. Then you do have Alex Lafreniere that was very good last year. You do have Liam Greenshee. You do have Portillo, I believe is still eligible, and Carter George. Just didn't quite make it for me. So yeah. Here's the full order: the San Jose Sharks, the Montreal Canadiens, the Anaheim Ducks, the Mammoth, the Hawks, the Wings, the Jackets, the Hurricanes, the Sabres, and lastly, the Minnesota Wild. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? Who would you move up? Who would you move down? I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.